All right. Welcome everybody to what's going to be one of our last, I guess, Zoom sessions. So that's a little bit sad. Hoping that we're together next semester. I hate to assume. Sounds like Dr. Robertson may have switched things up a little bit had he known, but I hope that we're going to be together again for the summer to finish the program. So today we're going to discuss our review of the CAP tasks. Graham, I'm going to let you go ahead and start if you don't mind, and then we'll work. I don't know if your screen looks the same as mine, but I've got Graham and then David and then Sion, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Sorry, I feel like there's someone behind me, and so I don't know if you can actually see my face, but I promise I'm here. I feel like I say the same thing over and over with every time I read, Mark's work. It's always the same. There's nothing really to complain about at all. I did notice in your task one, I think I tried to mention on that sheet that especially for me not being in North Carolina, you took the definition of the 5 points that were given, like the definition kind of time, of resources, of facilities, as far as what comes from your State Department. Mm-hmm. And being in South Carolina, I felt like that was very helpful to me to just kind of have that explanation of that too. And so that carried on throughout the rest of the task explanations, and so that was really good. And your, I say it all the time, your graphics, they always make me feel like I got to put something in there. Let's take a screenshot, do a chart, something. But it was very clear, very self-explanatory as far as the things you were trying to do with your team, and I thought it was great.
Thank you. David?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. Sion, I feel like we keep saying things, but I think I noted on yours, I really feel like this is probably the best work of yours that I've read in either of these 2 semesters. I feel like you've hit a stride here, and this is something that you very clearly care about. I think the culture of your school, your affection for your school really comes through in what you're saying, and I can tell that you care about what you're talking about, and that made it a really an interesting piece to read. I thought you did a really good job. You had all kinds of graphics in yours, and the way you varied your charts and your graphs in this one, I thought your information was really good, was very clear, and your writing was very strong in this one. I thought you did a really excellent job. I really enjoyed reading yours. It made me feel a little bad about mine, like Graham was saying. I thought you did a really good job with this one.
Okay, thank you. Don't feel bad. I actually liked yours because I realized that I don't think you did the teacher workers condition survey. So it was good to compare what you did in South Carolina than what we did in North Carolina, because that's how we learn about each other's states and the different school districts that we have. Yeah. So yours was very interesting. And what I like about yours is that you seem to know a lot about your school community, where your school is at, what you're doing. Your subheadings were good. Your writing is impeccable, because I know you're a writing person, so I love that too. There's nothing much to really say. I think the only thing I said to you was I wanted to see what the other teachers' jobs were. Mm-hmm. Like, I know you said you had 2 team members, but I wanted to know what grade level they were from and what was their job description. That was the only thing. But apart from that, it was really good. As I said, I compared both papers, because I did the TWCS or whatever it is, and then you did something totally different based on what you're doing in your school. Right. So it was good to make that comparison. Yeah. So I actually learned something as well. But very good.
Well, thank you. It is different. It's interesting too to see the difference in the 2 states. Being so close together, we do have a lot of differences. You guys seem to have a lot more formality and a lot more attention to things like school culture than we do. We're kind of Wild West down here as far as school culture goes. Each school's kind of up to their own device, and that's really interesting to me. It makes me kind of wish we were in North Carolina, honestly. I like what y'all have.
And you know why maybe you got the feeling that I poured myself into this is that when I was looking on the survey, that was our weakest area, time.
Right.
And the reasons why our time was the weakest area is because of all this disruption because of behavior. And as I mentioned, the office calling your classrooms all the time. So it's almost as if sometimes we're giving up our instructional time.
Right.
And that has really become an issue. So if I could even show you the survey, you would be like, oh, this school has no issue. But that was the weakest one, because we had like 40%, 50%, 60%. And I'm like, okay, something is going wrong in the building when it comes to time and how teachers, what time we get to do instruction, because that's what we're struggling with right now. Just this behavioral disruption in the classrooms. But thank you.
Thank you.
So I reviewed Graham's task 1, but Sienna did take a quick glance at yours and certainly echo what David said. Man, your graphs and just the supporting information that you had was just really interesting to read.
Thank you.
But I didn't do an actual review of yours. So Graham, it's like last time, I don't have a whole lot to add other than what I put on the form. Yours is so well organized. The visuals don't distract. They're not there just to kind of put fluff into the paper. I think it's just the right balance. It helps to break up the text. Some of our papers have become so long considering they're just task 1.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it seems like this is one of the tasks that people really got into.
Right.
It did deal with culture of our school. And so, I feel like we are who we are at this point as far as writers and APA style and that kind of thing. So before we go, just wanted to see, so we don't have to be redundant about the other tasks. See if we can go around again and just see if anybody has any further comments about the other tasks, since we've all probably given as much feedback as what we can. So I'm just going to start and then we'll finish with Sion. One of the things about this task I've really enjoyed doing is looking at this cultural piece. So for example, I went to our counselors and I asked what kind of data they had on students. And they have a mountain of data on how students feel about the school and whether there's anybody bullying them or, what we can do to help support them to do homework and that kind of thing. When I asked if, I'm sure you guys know by now, but my school is mostly African-American and Hispanic. So like when I go into classrooms, normally there's no white students. There might be 1 or 2 white students. So it's a very culturally diverse school. And when I asked if there were any questions about culture, the counselor said no. So this is one of the tasks I feel like is like my principal's really interested in the data, and it's not something that they really thought about. And so I'm still in the stages of kind of analyzing the data, but it just gave me a good opportunity to be able to gather some data from the students about how they feel as far as whether the teachers are incorporating their culture, the materials, whether people around the school are people they identify with. So that's been really interesting for me to be able to do. It's not something I would have done without this task. And so anyway, Graham, I'll kind of pass it on to you. Just maybe some comments about this task in general, or what's really been good or meaningful for you as a potential or future administrator.
Well, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. We are almost the exact opposite at my school culturally. We are 98% white. And so our culture is a completely different issue. Our culture is kind of a low socioeconomic, if you do enough to get by, then you will make it just fine because it worked for my parents kind of a culture. And so it's same level of interest for me because that's not how I was raised. That's not what I came from. And so it's very hard once you've been through education and you get involved in it to understand how that is enough for these young people. And so it's hard to see that. And so that's the culture that we fight. I wish we had more diversity, because I feel like the small group of diverse students that we do have kind of feel lost in this sea of everything else. And so this is very interesting to me. If there's a big problem at our school, it definitely is the culture and the mindset of the students in the community in general, I would say. And so if there was a way that we could fix it, this is very interesting to me to see, responses and ways to go about that change.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at the same school and had much the same thoughts. Culture is a big word, and I think of all of the other the nuts and bolts aspects of leadership that we've looked at in the other papers, this one is the most interesting to me because it's such a fragile thing to look at a school's culture, but it's also so important. And it's having been at the school that I'm at for so long, everybody knows there are problems, but nobody knows where to start. It's gotten to the point where, what do we do first? What's the first domino that you knock over that's going to hit all the rest of them? And that goes into all those other things, budget and hiring process. They're all part of it, but it's the most interesting part to me for that reason, because it's something that I'm impacted by, every day. We look at our school and, why aren't teachers trying harder? Why aren't more people more dedicated? Why aren't the kids working harder? Why are we the way we are? And so it's an interesting thing to look at for sure.
Okay, I won't say much because it's a very touchy situation at my school. I mean, I love my school, don't get me wrong, but because we have 4 different programs, it's of mixed feelings. If you walk in the school as a visitor, you may think it's segregated because the TD classes has mostly whites and Asians, while the academic class, which I teach, has no whites, just all blacks. My only issue is I think they should start mixing these kids, because we do have problems with some of the kids asking questions as to why it's like that in the building. So I think that would be, for me as an admin, that would be one of the focus.
Yeah.
I would focus on, like, how best can I mix these students so some of the students don't have all these questions as to why am I not good enough? Why can't I sit in a classroom with this child? Granted, it's talent development, but as I said, when you walk in the building and you see the classes, then you may think, what's going on here? I mean, we're already working on the culture with the staff because we have had PDs, and I think we're doing a very good job at it. But as my focus would be on the children and what they are seeing in the building and how we can change that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate everybody for all your work on the peer reviews. Hopefully we'll all get through the semester without pulling our hair out. I know everybody's busy with everything else they have going on. And I hope that we see each other next semester to finish up the program.
Indeed.
So let me ask a question before you go. So we we had 2 semesters for summer. So we started one of, so how is that going to work? Are they still, so who's getting paid for, are we still going to have to pay that money for the last semester because we started this one in this one?
Yeah, I think it counts as a 3rd semester.
Okay. Okay.
I think so.
If I had to guess, we'll have to pay.
It's probably not as much because I don't think it's as many hours, but I'm not sure.
Okay, and then we're going to have a new professor then.
Right, yeah, I would guess.
Yeah, I think it's the same credit hours, so even though it's 10 weeks, I think we're probably paying for credit hours and,
probably so.
Additional, whatever we have to do for them to submit for our licensure and all that. So I'm expecting it's going to be the same fee, but it's just not going to be as long.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like, obviously we'll just have one more task really to finish.
Yeah.
If it's any cheaper, I'll be very happy. I'm setting myself up for that. This is going to be out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
No proof behind that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, like for internship and that kind of thing, I don't know exactly how that works. Obviously, that's why they wanted to push us through as fast as we could go this semester. I'm lucky enough to be a year-round employee. And we, our year-round operation here is, one of the largest school districts in the state, just with our year-round schools open. But I know that's not typical of everybody, so we must be preparing for this summer without necessarily having school in session. So it'd be interesting. I'm thinking because we worked so hard this semester, not saying that we'll be coasting, but I think it would be somewhat of a coasting as long as we can get ourselves to do the last task and whatever else we need to upload to TaskStream. But yeah, I don't think there'll be any reduced money coming out of our bank accounts.
Okay. Okay. All right. I have a lot of work to do in TaskStream. I haven't really gone into TaskStream, so I have a lot of work to do there too.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, email if we can all be of support to each other, but otherwise, I think this is the last Zoom until our next task.
Sounds
Okay.
All right. Take care, everybody.
good. Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.